Smarter, sharper and offering far better quality, Renault's third generation Megane family hatchback is the car its predecessor should have been. It's now one of the sector's class leaders, good enough to make other brands look to their laurels. With Renault's position as one of Europe's biggest car makers severely under threat, their designers knew they could afford no mistakes with the third generation Megane family hatchback. No room then for the Mark II model's controversial flat-back styling or that car's Airfix kit-like interior quality. Instead, despite being produced on basically the same chassis as the Mark II version, this Megane must take on cars built as beautifully as the Mark VI Volkswagen Golf, while rivaling models as good to drive as Ford's Focus. Not an easy task due to the fact that both these rivals have the advanced multi-link rear suspension that this Renault lacks due to its older underpinnings, but not impossible. You have to spend a fortune after all on a Golf or a Focus before it starts feeling really luxurious, something that Renault aims to be able to offer even on mid-range Meganes. If that's true, and if this car really has upped its game in terms of both build quality and road manners, then it might still have a strong claim on your attention. Let's see. Renault's Mark II Megane made the most of a pretty rudimentary suspension setup, and so it is here, although the lack of sophistication does show through on really badly rutted B roads. Mainly though, the emphasis with this car has been on making everything very easy to use. Everything's very light, pedals, steering, gear change, something you'll either like or you won't. Fortunately, the car itself is also pretty light. It's 8 kilograms less hefty than its predecessor, despite being significantly bigger. Now, that means that this car has an advantage when it comes to fuel efficiency and performance over many of its rivals. Only Volkswagen's Golf has a better power to weight ratio. At the wheel, the first thing you notice is this rather incongruous looking but very clear instrument arrangement with its digital speedometer and analog rev counter. It's normally the other way round in other designs. Handling is neat, and both body roll and refinement meet the current high-class standard, going some way towards meeting Renault's claim that this car has a big car feel. The brakes are impressive too. They've got ABS, of course, electronic brake force distribution and brake assist to help you an emergency stop, and they're large too, enabling this car to get from 62 to rest in a class-leading 37 metres if you're in an emergency situation. The three main Megane body styles include a 3-door coupe, a sports tourer estate, and the 5-door hatchback that we're looking at here. Now, all are longer, wider and higher than their predecessors, featuring also a longer 2.64 metre wheelbase that offers plenty of cabin space. Luggage is well served too. The 372 litre boot in this 5-door is one of the largest and the best shaped in the class. If you need more than that, go for the Sports Tourer Estate and you get 524 litres, and that car can also accommodate 1,595 litres if you fold its back seat down. Now, talking of back seats, I have to say that the process of folding this one could be easier. You have to push the front seats right forward, and then in order to get a flat load floor, pull this squab out and then stick this in behind it. It's something you get used to, but it could be simpler. The car certainly exudes a much higher feeling of quality than you might expect, with thin shut lines between the various body panels. Now, great care at last has gone into the quality and fit and finish of the materials used. For example, there are nice touches like this soft touch dashboard cowling that's resistant to daily use and the aging effects of sunlight. There's also nice design touches like the way that the windscreen wipers are aesthetically concealed beneath the bonnet line. Safety-wise, Renault's SRP3 setup, that's a system for restraint and protection, offers no fewer than 8 airbags, and that's not including the 2 that are fitted, one each in these both of these front seats, that stop front seat passengers sliding underneath their seat belts in the event of an accident. You've got head restraint protection here that stops your head jerking backwards in a rear end shunt, while if you get hit from the side, double impact side protectors on the doors make the side airbags 3 times more effective in the event of a side-on collision. I guess my only quibble is that the fitment of something really important like ESP stability control is not available as standard on very basic models. Now, prices lie in the same £14,000 to £19,000 bracket that's common to most family hatchbacks. Obvious rivals apart from the Volkswagen Golf and the Ford Focus, including cars like Vauxhall's Astra, Peugeot's 308, Mazda's 3, Citroen's C4, the Honda Civic, the Fiat Bravo, the Kia Ceed and the Hyundai i30. Quite a few then. Most mainstream buyers go for the 5-door family hatch that we're looking at here, but buyers looking for something a bit sportier can choose the 3-door only coupe, while those seeking extra versatility that isn't satisfied by the Sports Tourer estate variant can opt for Renault's Megane based Scenic or Grand Scenic mini MPVs. Now, whichever Megane you go for, all models get air conditioning, a height adjustable driver's seat and a trip computer. Under the bonnet, many will want one of the frugal DCI diesels, sales of which will be focused on either the DCI 86 or the particulate filter equipped DCI 106 1.5 litre variants. If you want a bit more, you could go for, as I've done here, go for a 1.9 litre DCI 130 diesel. Now, this unit now has pulling power available earlier in the rev range, so it's a lot more peppy. Now, if that's not enough, there's a DCI 160 that your dealer can tell you about with a substantial amount more power. You'll have to order that in DCI 150 form if you want it with automatic transmission. These engines are mainly carried over from the larger Laguna lineup, and the same is true of the petrol power plants, a lineup that begins with 1.6 litre 16 valve 110 and 100 bhp engines, and progresses up to the high-tech 1.4 litre TCE 130 unit that your dealer can tell you all about. Now, that's a very interesting engine. It offers you the 130 bhp power of a conventional 1.8 with the lower CO2 emissions of a conventional 1.6. The top-of-the-range flagship engine, the 2 litre TCE turbo that's found in the 3-door coupe model, uses similar technology. Lighter weight and optimised aerodynamics mean that over 70% of all Megane sold are either biofuel compatible or put out less than 140 grams per kilometre of CO2. Now, I'd try one of the 1.5 DCI diesels first. They can put out as little as 118 grams per kilometre of CO2, and you should average around 63 to the gallon. I'm driving a slightly more powerful version of the diesel genre here, the 1.9 DCI 130, but even that manages 55.4 miles to the gallon and 134 grams per kilometre of CO2. If you want petrol power, the best you'll do is with the 1.6. Now, that manages 42.2 miles to the gallon, and you'll get 159 grams per kilometre of CO2. Now, this car aims to be one of the most socially responsible in its class, claiming to be 95% end-of-life recoverable. Almost 12% of the plastics that it uses are from recycling, equating to an average of around 22 kilograms per car. Insurance groups for mainstream models, well, they range between 5 and 10. Renault really had to step up its game with the 3rd generation Megane, and it has. Bigger and roomier. This car really ought to suit downsizers, feeling much like a larger model to drive. There are plenty of green credentials and the apparently exemplary build quality we first saw in the larger Laguna. Overall, unless you have a particular aversion to the Renault badge, it's hard to see why you wouldn't consider one. I mean, this, after all, is a car that's gone from being a family hatchback also-ran to being one of the 3 or 4 models in the segment that you really must consider. Enough said.